So welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, August 24th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The future of law enforcement in Indian country might lie in a brick building with expansive windows curving to the northeast, which sits in an empty field south of Bismarck. The building, bearing the logo of the United Tribes Technical College and imprints of horses and thunderhawks, won't be finished until later this fall and won't hold classes until January 2011. Instead of housing desks and books, it's filled with ladders and smells of paint and plaster. But walking through the halls and classrooms, dodging construction equipment and cords along the way, David Gipp, president of the UTTC, sees the potential of a new science and technology center and what it could have on the training for law enforcement officers to provide public safety services to Native American tribes. Reservations across the country, including those of the 5 tribes in North Dakota that operate UTTC, have long dealt with a shortage of law enforcement officers. Part of the problem has been a shortage of training opportunities. The Bureau of Indian Affairs officers are trained through the Indian Police Academy in Artesia, New Mexico, which has a limited number of openings annually, and hopefully that new structure will resolve that. The pursuit of educational excellence serves as a basis for the Southern California Tribal Education Institute. The Southern California Tribal Education Institute has announced the award of the Christopher B. Duro Fellowships to 4 Indigenous students. Kari Lewis is a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation. She is entering her 2nd year of the American Indian Studies MA program at the University of California, Los Angeles. Her research focuses on Chickasaw language revitalization. Leon Peralto is Native Hawaiian, pursuing a master's degree at the University of Hawaii in Hawaiian Studies. His goal is to deepen his knowledge of the history, culture, and language of his people. The Kehaulani Vaughn is another Native Hawaiian and is working towards her doctorate in ethnic studies at the University of California, Riverside. Her research interests include indigenous sovereignty issues, land rights, and indigenous education. And Casandra Lopez is Kohula, Louisiana, and Tungva, and an MFA candidate studying fiction at the University of New Mexico. Her research interests include stories that explore themes of alienation, loss, and displacement. For more information about the Christopher B. Duro Fellowship or the Southern California Tribal Education Institute, you can go to the website sctei.org, and we'll put those websites up here as we go along so you can see them. The Alaskan Chickaloon Village Yanidaha School is dangerously close to closing this year due to lack of funds. However, the Chickaloon Village Traditional Council has voted to open the Yanidaha School and give parents, staff, and volunteers until September 30th to raise the money needed to keep the school going for the rest of the school year. They need to raise a minimum of $8,000 by September 30th to cover the 2009-2010 school year deficit. They have a new website to help with the fundraising efforts. This new website is set up to take one-time donations, and that's going to be at http://chickaloon.org, and we'll get that up. Or you can contact the Chickaloon Village Traditional Council at 907-841-9069. The Iroquois Indian Museum at Hovey's Cave, New York, announces the 29th annual Iroquois Indian Festival to be held on Labor Day weekend, September 4th through the 5th. The 2-day festival's goal is to foster a greater appreciation and deeper understanding of Iroquois culture through presentation of music, social dances, traditional stories, artwork, games, and food. This year's Master of Ceremonies will be museum educator Mike Tarbell, a member of the Turtle Clan from the Akwesasne Mohawk Nation. The annual festival centers on the celebration of Iroquois creativity and self-expression by featuring an all-Iroquois Indian art market open to Iroquois artisans. and by invitation only, both traditional and contemporary arts are showcased. The Sky Dancers from the Six Nations Reserve in Ontario will perform traditional Iroquois social dances, and lots of other events are scheduled to occur as well, including Mohawk educator Amanda Tarbell with Iroquois stories each day, and wilderness survival teacher Barry Keegan showing his expertise. And you get more information at their website at iroquoismuseum.org. And today we go to an interview with Karen Pheasant from Waquemicong, Ontario, in the Great Manitoulin Island, and a little bit of insight that went into her first book, The Promise to the Nokomis, the transfer of the Anishinaabe Kwe dance to the next generation beyond the Great Lakes, having to do with the Jingle Dress, and it's spread throughout the United States and Canada, and that's based on a true story.
Leaders and everything. And when I worked for the Lands Department, I realized we know that our ceremonies are important. We know that our language is important. But also what is vital is our land. And within the land, the resources, the water, the trees, and all of that. And so this book is also about the journey that they make to the land, to this Lake of the Woods, to this region. And when we become in tune with that, then that's how we acquire the knowledge. And I had one of the well-known MCs of Western Canada read this. He read it, and the next day I asked him his thoughts and comments, and he said, "You didn't mention so-and-so," or "You didn't mention so-and-so." Because generally speaking, there are no names mentioned in here. And I said to him, I introduced the concept of collective knowledge, that knowledge belongs to the community of the people. And it belongs to the community of the people on that land. And so, no, I didn't mention this person or that person. Because, and even with this book, as I mentioned to you earlier, Paul, that this book is not intended that, oh, I'm going to get that book, and now I'll know everything A to Z of the Jingle Dress. It's not about that too, either. One of the acknowledgments I make is my greatest teachers, one of my greatest teachers, besides my parents and my grandparents, is my children. So my youngest son, he's 21, and he read it, and he said, I thought you were going to give the answers here. And I said, no, each individual seeks their own answers. And then he said, he goes, this book makes me ask a lot of questions. And when I spoke to Ryan White of the Whitefish Bay Drum, and he said his daughter read the book, she came to him and she had a lot of questions too. And the father said, I think you better go ask Grandpa, and you better go ask Auntie. And because each one of us does not have all the answers, and each has their journey. So my son referenced this, and he said, I see this as a gateway book. And that's how he termed it. I see this as a gateway book, meaning that you come to this gateway and it provides, maybe you're going to go on the internet. Maybe you're going to go on one of the local trips is the Munising, the pictured rocks that we have just up the road here. I've seen that boat tour for 20 years. A year ago with my mom, we finally did it on the water to the rocks to see the pictures. And so,
Grand Island, isn't it?
By Grand Island. Yes, by Grand Island. And so perhaps we're going to go on a canoe. Perhaps we're going to get in a little car. Perhaps we're going to go on the internet. We don't know. But I'm hoping as a writer, and this is my first book, I'm very excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Paul. I'm going to let you ask me something else. I'm going to pause here.
Okay. I had a couple things. One, my sense of things is that in a profession or in a traditional upbringing, you are an educator. And educators tend to create things that inspire people to ask questions, which seems to be the book. It doesn't have all the answers, but it causes you to ask a lot of questions. Am I correct in both those statements?
And you are, Paul. You are, Paul, about... Because when I did my travels, and yes, I've been a teacher, I've been an educator, I've taught at different university campuses, I've taught at our local, I taught Native Studies at our community high school. And I find that the students sometimes, and even myself as a student, I was mentioning to Paul earlier on, it happened 20 years ago. And then I did it as a short narrative piece in an anthology with the Algonquin Center with Thetis Books in '02. And then I said, I want this to be a story. And generally, we are visual people. So we have a local theater company at home, the Bashmajig, and I approached them. And I said, I have this story. And they said, oh, good, where? I go, oh, it's here. I said, I want to share this story about how the Jingle Dress was transferred out to other nations. Oh, we worked, we talked about it. Next thing you know, we did it. We did a 2-week show run. 2 weeks. It was sold out every night. And it was very new to put up. Oftentimes you see Native American dance, and sometimes it's a powwow dance demonstration, as opposed to a story being told. Especially when we say a story being told, we think of a traditional man dancer and he does a sneak-up dance or he does a different dance. But as women, what dances do we have beside the woman's traditional dance, a woman's fancy dance and jingle? So I choreographed, directed a stage piece of this piece here. It was amazing, what the comments was good. And I said, I've got to write this story. But how do you take, and one of the challenges, as we spoke about earlier, Paul, how do you take an oratory, a spoken word piece, and put it in a written text? Easier said than done. It's not a matter of, oh, this girl went up to Lake of the Woods and then the grandma's, it's not like that. So I sat with it since it's a quick read. It's what I call a quick read. You can do it a quick read. It'll take you a few minutes. But I've heard readers say, when I read it the second and third time, I seen something different. Last week I was in Saskatchewan, and one of their renowned dancers, Tara Starr, she got a copy of the book. She's a jingle dress dancer, what I would term a straight jingle dress dancer. We have the contemporary. We have what I think of the new contemporary old style, and then we have what I consider myself just a straight jingle dress dancer. So Tara's telling me that her mom, she goes, my mom is a non-reader. So Tara, if you see this, I hope that I enjoyed what you shared with me about your mom. You said your mom, she's older and she's a non-reader. She said her mom read the whole book. And she said her mom said, so one, that's an achievement that her mom read the whole book. And number two, her mom said, I could see. I could see. I could feel what Karen was talking about. And that made me really, really happy, because that's the challenge, is when you hear an oratory, you're taken to that place. You go to a deeper level than just a matter of Jack and Jill went up the hill.
And if you'd like to see the full 23-minute interview with Karen Pheasant, you'll be able to see that at IndianCountryTV.com here in the near future. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this issue of the Native News Update. Stop by again soon. Miigwech. Whoa.